Hello, welcome to Cyber One Certification and Training. If you're part of our certification program, there is no exercise at the end of this training. This is just an informational video only. And if you're here just for training purposes, but you're interested in learning more about certification, just contact your account manager or shoot us an email at support@cb1security.com. Okay, so let's get started. Today we're in the vendor risk management module. And what we're going to be looking at is onboarding vendors and creating engagements once we've uploaded vendors into the system. So the vendor is obviously just the third-party organization that you might be working with, and the engagement is the specific project or activity that that vendor fulfills. And we can, once we onboard vendors, we can assess either that vendor or the engagement protocol. And we're going to show you how to do that today. So let's start by getting into our management system. So here we are on the platform, and you can see I'm in the vendor management module. And right now I'm in the engagements tab, but I'm going to switch that over to vendors and just open one of my vendor records. Now in the vendor record, in the details section, you'll see that we have a field for status. And if I double click on that, we can access the drop-down menu that gives us a number of different options. And these options describe where the vendor is in the security review process. So if we have a vendor that's in new status, that means they've been obviously uploaded into the system, but we haven't yet begun security review. When we want to begin security review, we're going to change that status to onboarding. And then when we complete security review, and assuming that the vendor passes that review, we can change them to active, which means they're ongoing and working with the organization. Then once that project or activity or contract has finished, we have a couple of different choices. We can actually make the vendor inactive. That means we keep their records in our system, but our project or our current relationship with the vendor is no longer active. We can archive them, which takes the vendor record out of our system, but does keep them in an archive. And then, of course, we can terminate if we're no longer going to be working with that vendor and we want to make sure that the record is fully and that the vendor is fully decommissioned. And you can do all of those activities in Cyber One. So just from the onboarding process part today, we're going to change this record to onboarding and click Save. And then there are a number of different steps that we can fulfill as part of the security review process. And I'm just going to walk through these very briefly with you. So one thing we can do is we can make sure our security risk and compliance checks have been completed. These different questions here can be customized to the company requirements, of course, and then we might just want to fill these out. The next thing we can do is we can conduct an impact analysis on our vendor. And that will highlight the risk that we believe that we're taking on by going into a partnership with this vendor. So in our vendor record, we can use our links tab and we can just go to the impact analysis section. Now I can see here that there's one being completed already. So I can do a couple of different things. I can take a look at that, perhaps depending on the review date, which I can see this one's current. I can just open that and take a look at it. Make sure that I think it's correct. Or the other option I have is just to create a new impact analysis and update that. And I simply do that by clicking New Impact Analysis. And as you can see, this takes me into an editable field where I can answer a number of different questions related to the business impact, security impact, so on and so forth, the different risks incurred as a relationship to this company. So note that the vendor record is tied to this. So once I complete this impact analysis, it will tie back into my vendor record. And I can just go ahead and complete these by filling out whatever's relevant to my vendor and then click Save. And note that for an impact analysis, we can, again, customize these templates for the organization, or we can actually show you how to create your own impact analysis. And we do that in the general training section, in the training video that, not surprisingly, is called how to create an impact analysis. So feel free to check out that section too to find out how you can create your own impact analysis. So I'm just going to cancel out of this. So once we've created the impact analysis for the vendor, then we have a couple more options. One of the things that we can do on the CyberOne platform is implement continuous risk monitoring. Integrates with a number of partners, among them BitSight, Whitehawk, Interos, and others. These organizations use AI to provide security risk review and external threat review that can then be pulled into our system and monitored on a daily basis. This type of ongoing AI monitoring of companies is quickly becoming a part of the regular TPRM process, either to supplement the assessment process itself, or in some cases to supplant it in organizations that believe that the continuous risk monitoring is more effective than the point of time assessment process, which can, of course, be laborious. It can, of course, be difficult to fully engage the vendor in completing the process. And so this is, for some, a preferred method of evaluating their vendors. In CyberOne, we allow you to do both. You can use this continuous risk monitoring faculty, or you can do the more traditional method of assessing vendors through sending them an assessment for them to fill out. And we'll show you how to do that again in other trainings. So once we've completed this step in the process, we would move to assessment if we were going to do that. And then we have a choice of doing a global assessment on the vendor itself, or another thing we can do is we can add what's called an engagement to our vendor record. And again, if we go to our links menu, you can see that we've got a couple of engagements that we've already added here. Or we can start a new engagement. And again, an engagement is the actual project or partnership that we're engaging in with the vendor, the specific tasks that they're going to be completed. So we just populate this record. We can put in the description. And we can estimate the criticality. We can estimate the criticality if we so desire. And we can put notes as to why we think and there are a number of other fields that we can fill out if we know them. As you can see, we have our TO time, our PO time. If they've already done an assessment, when the next review should be, so on and so forth. All of these are information fields that are available to you if you know if they're germane, if you need to fill them out. Then finally, we just want to make sure that we fill out all of the required fields. So as you can see, we've got contact information that we do want to populate here. We are required to add the engagement business contact. This is the person actually internal to your organization who is overseeing the project. And actually, if they have access to the CyberOne platform, they could submit these engagement requests, or we can also do that through our CyberOne portal by having them as a light user. Second thing we want to do then is add the primary contact. We don't require this, but we do recommend it. And that would be the point of contact in the actual company, the vendor, third party, who you're going to be working with. And then finally, we recommend that you put in the assessor. You're going to need to add this for the assessment process anyway. And so we'll add ourselves as the assessor. So once you've added out all of the different fields that you need to, you can just click save. And there you have your engagement record. And once again, you can see it's tied to your vendor. Let's go back to the vendor record now, but you can see you have the choice of doing an assessment on the vendor themselves, on the engagement specifically. And of course, you can choose to do both if you so desire. So that concludes our training for today. This is how you can onboard vendors and begin security review on the CyberOne platform. Thank you very much.